Welcome back, guys, to a brand new weekly breakdown. We're going to go through my trades this week, talk through May as a whole, how we're going into June, and also the funded accounts and challenge accounts. All the good stuff here. So let's go into EU for the week. We obviously had this trade running from last week. We could see that we had buys on from Tuesday. And the idea of that was on the weekly time frame, we obviously came into this liquidity on the weekly. And because we had a failure here, we saw that this wick failed to break through. Expecting a pullback into this first fair value gap. Now we had price at this point show us with a big wick and a failure to break that this pullback may be done, and therefore that's why I look for these buys. Now what I'm looking for is upside for the week. We had the imbalance fill here, which I've marked in. We got previous weekly high. What I'm really looking for now on this time frame is, can we see the upside? If we fail into this wick somewhere, this may mean that this pullback wasn't enough, and I'll be expecting price to fail, give us signs, take this out, and in the weekly get a deeper pullback into these areas because we're still bullish on the fib, but we haven't yet seen proper structure breaks, but we could get pullbacks deeper if this wasn't enough. Anyway, though, looking at that, I was going into this week with watching what Thursday and Friday did. We saw a pullback and we saw a tap back into this weekly area. We then saw price engulf. So I'm expecting the 4-hour leg to hold going into the week. The reason being as well is the 4-hour leg was confirmed here when we broke this high. I was looking for buys within it. I like this little potential area for a pullback, some internal liquidity here for a buy. It's as simple as that. Don't need to overcomplicate it. Just looking for the straight up buy off this level, expecting the leg to hold with targets for whatever high we form. Obviously, this wasn't enough R for me, so the week started off and it took us up. That gave me enough R. So that move was set. Obviously, we'll talk about the previous weekly break in a minute. We saw that high break early on. As for GU, though, going into the week, similarly, but maybe not so similarly, we have obviously cleared this area. This could mean to an extent we may get a deeper pullback into maybe this fill. We'll mark that high, or obviously understand that. I'm there for the buys, but I am still looking for upside. I think that's what I've been doing too much this year, is trying to call a top, and I don't want to do that. Also, I just know simply the strategy that I have and how I need to utilize it and just go from there. So we'll go to the start of this week and look left. Now I'm expecting this area, these wicks up here, to be the target for the higher time frame if we're going to continue up and go bullish. What we can see is we can go on the daily and we can have a look at what areas I was eyeing up. First of all, we do have this order block here with the gaps that we add in. This was a good area for an entry. We had a daily fill with obviously this previous weekly liquidity. Let's set it off. We can see here that this was an area of entry. We marked that in as the overall fill. Well, it was just a daily fill. Then we had the order block there on the daily. So I'm expecting a pullback into that area. Obviously, we could get a deeper pullback. So I set up 2 positions. We'll cover this whole area as a big zone. Then we've got the weekly imbalance fill. So I had a trade lower down off the weekly fill. Really stops halfway within this order block that we had. We can see that the target would be the current high as well. That was my second position. Now the first one was this with stops below the daily, I believe. So it was about a 3R. Once we saw Monday come up, click that through. So the targets move up. What we can see is because the week started bullish, obviously there's more chance of a higher pullback. The reason being is because it's swept liquidity early on, so we can get the deeper pullback. What we could also see is we could start to see price just decimate through these and maybe get the change around. The hard thing is because the weeklies are so strong at the minute and the daily structure seems to be pretty solid, I'm expecting that because this is all a pullback, we shouldn't have too many issues in it and we should just continue with forming higher highs and higher lows. One thing I can gather though off Monday's closes, I'm not trading off it. I'm still keeping the higher time frames in mind, letting EU higher medium time frame from last week here, which is a huge trade, try and play out. So as we come into this week then, on the Tuesday, we saw EU close bearish. It's a very strong candle. Obviously, this is where I'm still viewing this as a pullback for the week. We obviously saw GU do something similar, engulf there. So we're having issues kind of at a daily wick to the left, very far left. This wick here, we've obviously failed in that at the minute. So going on to the daily, still waiting for the pullbacks to come in. As we look at EU coming into Wednesday, I think we got tagged into this. So we got tagged in here, so we'll move this over. and this was a play to the high of the week, current weekly high. So we'll mark that in as the move, current weekly high. So we're looking for that play. We saw the rest of Wednesday, it was looking okay at a certain point, and then it continued down. You can see here that it was clear at this point, once we decided we were failing at this high and we started to form bearish structure, that we were continuing to hold the legs of the 1 hour. So if you were bearish within the start of the week, you would have caught some good plays if you were trading 1 hour, 15 minute, 30 minute. I would look at the daily close there, and I would still say, you know what, we still are holding bullish structure to the upside. Therefore, I'm looking for this move to be respected. And going on to GU, I don't think we got tagged in on Wednesday, but you can see it's coming closer to our entry here. As we click through this day in the morning, so Thursday morning we got tariff news. This was big, and it obviously pushed us down to start the day in Asian, where we had a big push down. That took me out of this trade. I didn't set another position on EU because this position that I had up, I don't know why I got to take off the 5R, because that was not a move that I had in. We're obviously still in this trade, so we've got up 2R, we pull back to entry. Obviously, I'm okay with that because it's a higher time frame move, and obviously I'm holding sometimes 4 weeks. If we're going to get the push up though, once we come in and take out these areas to the left, we can see we've got some liquidity sitting here. Overall, we've broken the first 4 hour leg, so I was wrong with that trade and I took a loss. We can see that we've now come and took these wicks out, and if we're going to come up, we should start to see price run up again. That was the final trade there. So that was a loss we took. We've obviously got this trade still running. As for GU, Thursday morning gave us that tag in. We'll have a look on the 4 hour time frame. What was different about GU is because of how much we pushed up on GU last week on Thursday and Friday, this was really the leg low on the 4 hour. So we're expecting if we're going to pull back into the discount, we can get the rise back up to take out current weekly high again, which we'll mark in. You can see here, like, my analysis is quite simple. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm really just eyeing up the areas for trend to continue, and what I would do is continue to trade that until I'm proven otherwise that the trend is changing on the higher time frames. That for me is a simple way of trading. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I do incur losses at certain stages. When we change the trend and we get quick turnarounds of direction, I will be wrong and I can take multiple losses at once. So I already understand that with the strategy, so there's no shock here if this week with all these positions set I could take multiple L's. But as we come into the day, we did get tagged in there on GU, and we got hit with price nearly coming into 50% of the order block here. But daily yesterday actually flipped later on, and we saw some further news on the tariffs that Trump was getting blocked. So we saw price push up quite significantly there. EU pushed up even more. So what we saw is quite a big push up there. We then obviously got kept in this trade from last week. We saw a push up yesterday. So yesterday's candle, we go back to taking this to the left, we can see that we're still holding bullish structure. We still are forming higher highs here and higher lows. Question is now, is today should really flip and continue up. That's what I'm looking for. If we don't do that, it doesn't look great. Reason being is because I would say at this point, we're starting to create a pretty bad range. And if we're indecisive of going up, it means there may not be enough buying pressure, which means that's in jeopardy. So we may end up seeing price come down. But obviously now looking for the weekly closures where we're going to sit with that. We confirmed yesterday on GU that we have maybe formed the bottom wick. So I'm now looking for buys this morning going into Friday on EU and GU because of the idea that we have confirms on the daily time frame. So we go into the day, we can mark up our leg here. We can see that we've got the 1 hour leg, and I'm looking really at this kind of area as the fill order block with stops being held below here. So that's my trade with the highs from this week also looking to be targeted. So it's about a 2 hour trade. We're not tagged in that just yet. Don't think. Let's skip. So we're not tagged in that just yet. We may come back to that at some stage. As for GU on the day, because I could get the R this morning, take this trade off, it never come in, that other higher time frame. As we come up into this, we have a bit of a smaller leg on GU, and I was able to get my 2R within this area off this leg. You might say, yep, we've not broken this overall high to low that we're forming, but I would still look at taking this move off around this area here, coming into end of Asian session. So I got to move here with stops below here, targeting around 2.5R to the high of the week. And at the minute, currently, obviously, I'm in this trade on GU. So we have 3 open positions that have not yet played out. We've took 1 loss, and I'm still fighting that upside, really. EU has not come in. That would be 4 trades active from the last week's trade. This week's trade that's already lost is gone. And then we have this one that may or may not come in, depending on how much we pull back. So as for GU so far this morning, it's seeming like it's trying to come down and struggling. All I need then is price to run up about 100 pips to hit these 2 targets. That will give me about 5.5R. If we lose, we can lose up to 4R this week. So some weeks there is just a lot of trades and there's a lot of ideas that come in, and I've got to execute on all of them. Usually what happens is I'll double down on winners when I get higher time frames, medium time frames aligning. At times I will just double down on losses. I know from the period that I've been in with price being so good this year, the way I should have traded it, that a loss streak is inevitable at some stage soon. And I'm willing to keep trading it because you can't ever see where the loss streak's going to be. You've got to keep going with it, and you've got to trust your analysis. And the edge is the edge no matter what. It doesn't matter how many times you win or lose. If you have an edge over a quarter, it should play out. So there we go. We've got these trades set in. I don't think we'll get tagged in EU today unless we come down. I obviously don't want to see it come down. I'd rather see us start to break current weekly high and let this trade that we've got run up, because GU already got 2 positions in. I'm hoping we can just see the upside now. If we're getting a break of Asian low, we can continue to hold this 1 hour order block and see the rise back to the upside. As for monthly closures though, because it's today, we're going to see the end of the month, we're looking weak bullish on EU. Now I'm not sure how this looks, if this looks good, because I was really expecting current monthly high to be broken and to come up. Well, we did break current monthly high at the start of the week, but I'm expecting current monthly high and previous monthly high to be broken at some point, which we haven't seen yet. On GU, we're obviously on the monthly looking quite good, I think. Still strong, about to break this previous high here we had from last year. Now it's a question, can we get that continuation push up into the next area on the monthly, which is all the way up above 137. But that's really my week. It was a lot going on, obviously, with the fundamentals at the minute, and with so much uncertainty around the US economy. Trading dollar pairs has ultimately been a bit difficult. But then saying that, is it that difficult if you just continue to trade the trend, or if you're on lower time frames, able to identify getting in on these pullbacks? Because that's really the key thing. If you were selling this week, getting in around here or in here was really good because we're expecting the structure. And really it's been quite clean price action. I wouldn't say there's been, apart from this liquidity grab on Thursday morning, I would say your options for buys now for the week, if you've been waiting for them, were either in here or here, and sells should have been played out by now. We haven't yet confirmed we're really coming down, so we wouldn't want to be holding sells there for too long. We're overall on the 4 hour though, still respecting last week's leg. And as long as we can take out the current highs here from this week that we made, we should probably see upside continue. And that's really what I'm looking for going into the rest of this week. If we go to the accounts, we've had a lot going on. I don't even know where to start. We've had, obviously, the 2 trades we're in currently on the funded. And I think both of them winning will probably put me out of drawdown. We'll pass phase 1 if we pass these 2 as well. Going to go onto the metrics quick just to show you guys where we're at. We do obviously have 2 positions here. I don't know if we can see where the active positions are. Go onto the live metrics. We're up about 1.2% on the actual funded challenge, but on the funded account, we're down 3.5%. So we're trying to claw out a drawdown here. You can see these are 2 trades that I've got going on right now. They're in slight profit. I'm hoping by the end of this week, we've got some clearer direction for upside to continue into next week. As for the fivers, I've took multiple trades. Accidentally doubled my risk on this GU trade, so I closed the position this morning. We had the loss there from the trade on EU this week, which we obviously lost a bit from swaps and commissions. I was risking 0.75, and then we've got 2 positions in at the minute, or 3 positions, that's it, because we had last week's EU and these 2. So these will give me a payout if we obviously win. We're only down at the minute around we're down like 1 point or 2%, around 2%. So with 3 trades winning here, we might be up like 3-4%. Funded Next, I've actually got in touch with the team at Funded Next, and they've gifted me 2 50Ks, which I'm going to give a go. I'm already in this 100k. Now, because I'm so limited with my drawdown, I've had to be careful with the trades that I've took. So I don't know if we can see where the moves are that I've taken, which I can't quite see. I've had to only keep this trade on from last week, and I've took the EU loss this week with a 0.6% risk. This trade's on a 1% risk. If we win this, I'm putting up about 5% down, 4% down, no, 5% down or 6% down on the challenge. Trying to claw that back really. As for the other two trades, because I only received these accounts yesterday, I'm in obviously the GU trade this morning, and the EU from the limit I've set this morning is still waiting to be triggered. So that will put us into some profit if GU wins and we don't see another trade. Think Capital, I still have two trades running on Think Capital. GU from yesterday and the EU from last week. We obviously took a loss this week again on the trade here, we can see. So I've been mixing and matching because I'm so limited to what I can do. I think there's a possibility that I will lose the 100k funded next, and I will also lose the Think Capital and will fail challenges for the first time in maybe, when was the last time I blew a challenge? It was almost a year ago. So I've done well, but I've been on a losing streak, and I knew there would be a time that I would blow challenges. But that is part of what I know is deemed to be the case. If I was to risk 1% on the challenges throughout, I probably wouldn't ever blow a challenge, but because I am obviously happen. But that's where when you're already funded and you're getting payouts, you're able to use that money and put it into more challenges. Go Funded Trader, I've had a bit of a pickle with them. Did blow my account after failing the 4% max daily drawdown, which I'm not sure how. I think it was unlucky because I had EU set. I've obviously got this trade in. I lost this trade with this push down. That sent me over the limit because it was trailing and I thought it was balance based. So that's my mistake. We saw price run down here on GU and it obviously incurred more than 4%. So what would I say about this? I probably shouldn't go for challenges that have 4% max daily loss, because the way I go with quite an aggressive risk on challenges, I should risk 1.5% to 2%. Trailing drawdown, it's even harder to manage because I've got trades that sometimes run 2 to 3 hour in profit and pull all the way back, when I'm then getting tagged into a second position, which is just making me way over leveraged. So I don't think I'll go with Go Funded Trader. I think I gave him a go, but I seem to have problems with, even if it's my fault, at certain firms that have not the best rules that suit me. So I am going to dial it back. Now, if I do fail this, Think Capital, I would want to go with another account with them, but I'm not sure if I'll go for one just yet. I think I'd want to focus on the challenges that I've got, especially with the FTMO, and just take my time with it. I think I've been humbled a little bit this year with certain things that I've done wrong, and I don't want to go too hard. I think there's a time and a place for that. I don't know if that isn't quite now. I think there's always a good time to push on, but for the minute, I need to dial it back and really take my time with the challenges that I've got. Focus on getting out of funded drawdown as well, and once I do that, then it's a bit of a different scenario. But this is where maybe you are funded and you're going for more challenges. Just make sure you don't over leverage, because I wouldn't say I'm over leveraged with challenges, but what I have done is bought too many at once that I don't understand all the rules, and that's obviously then impacted the way I've took trades and then lost accounts unnecessarily, because I could always blame the prop firm, but in this case this was my fault. But that's a wrap for the week. The overall live data for the month, we can see the year here in its full. We have -2 on January. We had a really good month February. We've had off the back of 2 losing months, and we've currently got 1 hour profit with 2 trades running, I believe. No, 3 trades running. So the worst we can do this overall month is like -2R. Having 3 back-to-back losing months is annoying, especially after these months were way better. Price action wise, I look back and I would say if we go to like March and April, much better months than the way we've been at the highs on EU and GU. We've seen a bit of a pullback. Has been more difficult for me to trade. I should have capitalised on them months more, so I wouldn't be worrying about May so much. Reflective of the year though, we can see here we're 8 are up, 5 are up, 3 are up. Struggling. You know, if this month ends good, it won't look as bad. I'll be up like over 10R for the year. If I end up having losses here, I may be at break even for the year. So I've almost gone 5 months of not made profit. This is where back in end of April, I really evaluated the way I was trading and understood that something's got to change the way I trade. And now I've understood that. I'm more confident going into the rest of the year that we will turn things around. And all it takes is a couple of really good months to make up for the year. And I'm just waiting on them, because if we see a couple more months like February and we make 10R, and even if we have some more losing months, which I'm happy doing, because I know sometimes in the testing there is losing months, as long as they don't go over 5R, that should be fine for me, and we'll come out the year and profit. That's more important than focusing on every week or every month of what's happening. Ultimately, though, it's important you go through the months and understand if you're on a losing streak and you're not taking winners for months, where things are going wrong. I think the one thing we can take from this month is we've got back some winners. So we've managed to catch winners, which took me out of the mindset of constant losses, but the winners have not been big. I need the winners to start being bigger, because the losses have obviously been 1R, and the winners here, when I closed out of this trade, was 1R, which is not a problem, but this trade here was 2.3. We need some 4-5Rs really to really boost up that, or we'll get these winners come in from these trades, and all of a sudden I'll be up maybe 6-7R for the month, and it will look like a really solid month. I'm not going to speak too early on what that month is looking like in May. We'll find out next week, I'm sure. But yeah, that's a wrap. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace out.